noon, whatever time it is that you come across this video, this feed. I really wasn't planning on doing a video today, but I got a little bit of encouragement from one of my watchers, followers. She had the opportunity to test out my rainwater theory. And, that really encouraged me and made me smile today. It's those little tidbits of knowledge that we can share with the people that we come in contact with that, you never know the effect that it might have on their life. So, that being said, if you are not a collector of rainwater, I want to encourage you to do that. It's great for your hair, it's great for your skin, it's great for your plants. I can't really say anything negative about it. You don't have to have a big, huge rain barrel to be able to do it. Start out with a little bucket and work your way up, whatever your living situation allows you to do. That being said, I hope everybody's had a positive, productive, peaceful day so far today. I've had a very productive morning so far. I woke up with a nice energy this morning. So I also want to share the information for my other page. I actually changed the name of this page to line up with the name of my other page to make it easier for people to find it. The only difference between that one and this one, it's Harmony Haven Holistic Healing. This page, I put a SP at the end of it, which stands for Saudi Pixie, which went with what the name used to be for this channel. But the other channel is just Harmony Haven Holistic Healing. That being said, sorry, my hair's kind of cray-cray. It's a humid day out here, and I'm not trying to, beautify myself today. It's just a simple day. So if you've never come across that channel, I've been trying to cross post some links and stuff to that channel. I just this morning made a post on the community page with a link to the other channel. That's where I have started sharing all my, harvesting, foraging, that kind of stuff. I'm really trying to post more on that channel now that I'm in an established location. But that being said, we're going to get into it with the morning mantra, even though it's almost not morning time anymore. It's almost lunchtime. It's 11:48 in my location. All right. When in doubt, give people the benefit. Everyone else is trying their best. Hello, happy Sunday. I hope you're having a positive, productive day so far today. We also got another one. I can face the day knowing nothing bad can come from telling the truth. We actually got that last week. Being honest, not only with ourselves, but the people around us. Thank you for stopping by. It's good to see you. It's important not only to be honest with ourselves, but the people that we come in contact with. Sometimes we think that telling those little white lies won't really add up to anything, but it's just one of those things where, if you're honest, then you don't have to remember what truth you originally spoke or what lie you originally spoke. All right, we're going to pull a grief affirmation and then we'll get into the rest of the affirmations. I hope everybody's having a positive, productive day so far today. I ran out of hotspot, so we will not have the hand pan in the background today. I was using the hotspot to post stuff to the other page, and so I ran out pretty quick. But if you haven't checked out my other page, please do so. Harmony Haven Holistic Healing. I really would appreciate it. All right, I am healing even if it doesn't feel like it. Am I going to play cards online? No, that's not what I do here. I'm just here to offer encouragement, motivation, advice. We're pulling some affirmations right now. So if you need a little extra motivation today, feel free to stay and, you might benefit from this in some way, shape, or form. All right, we'll get an affirmation from the Wild Offering Oracle, and then we'll get our Chakra Wisdom affirmation, and then we'll get into the Oracle cards. It's been a hot, humid, but sunny day in my area today. I hope you're having good weather wherever you're at. If you are, try to make some time to get outside and soak up that sunshine. You'd be surprised at the benefits that you can get from spending time outside. All right, we got self-sufficiency and money. Self-sufficiency. The ultimate self-sufficiency is relying on God. It doesn't mean hiding in a cave and saying, I don't need people. Instead, it's saying, God is my source, and I'm willing to receive all the help, love, and support that wants to come. No matter what you call it, your higher power, acknowledging that relationship, putting your trust and faith in your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, and of course the Most High. Just because we don't see things that are going on in the background doesn't mean that things aren't happening, things aren't changing. It's important to not only have confidence in yourself, but have confidence in the divine. All right, and then we have money. All of my finances are now in divine order. Love itself knows my needs and is the source for all. I needn't cling to gain or fear loss. Every need will be met through offering all to the divine. Making your needs known, whether that's to your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, the Most High, or to the people around you. A lot of times, especially if we're used to being independent and doing things on our own, it can be hard to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Be honest with yourself about needing help. Even if you doubt a certain situation, make it a point to maybe reevaluate the situation, look at it from a different perspective. Then maybe it might help clarify things. It might help you release some of that doubt. Going back to the grief affirmation, I am healing, even if it doesn't feel like it. A lot of times we don't see how far we've really come on our journey. We don't give ourselves the credit that is due. So try to make a point to do that today. Going back to what we talked about last week, making those small, subtle changes, setting those small little goals that help us accomplish the bigger goals. Being careful and aware of our expectations, not only the expectations that we have on ourselves, but the expectations that we have on the people around us. Going back to our daily mantra, when in doubt, give people the benefit. Giving people the benefit of the doubt. Just because somebody's having a bad day doesn't mean that it has anything to do with you, vice versa. All right, we got third eye chakra, inner knowing for our chakra wisdom affirmation for the day. That's the sixth chakra represented by the color purple, the color violet. That's our third eye. It's right in between our eyebrows. Biblically, it's called the lamp of the soul. All right, and the fragrance that goes along with that is rose. I was actually going to burn some of this last night, but I ended up doing frankincense instead. Shout out to Elegant Expressions Aromatherapy. Those are the incense that I use. I actually get them at Dollar Tree, but as I've learned in my time of scrolling Amazon, there's a bunch of different companies and brands that have a line of chakra incense. So, if that's not something that you're used to using, it can really help with the aromatherapy aspect of it. Can help you relax. It can help you focus depending on what you're seeking. All right. I trust my inner knowing and I am at peace with myself. I create more moments of stillness and silence, and I listen for the truth. Lining up with our mantras, I am open to connecting and listening to my gut and my heart's feelings, and I don't override them with my mind's logic. I practice meditation, prayer, and contemplation. So, we talk about it a lot, doing that inner reflection, whether it's considered, whether you're actually doing meditation or just spending time in nature or just seeking solitude. We got the solitude energy a lot last week. Taking the time to learn about your own energy and how your energy is affected by the people that you surround yourself with, the environments that you put yourself in. That being said, just a reminder, the affirmations from the Chakra Wisdom and the Wild Offering affirmations, I have those posted in the shorts section where you can go and screenshot those affirmations so that you can say them for yourself. And you don't actually, necessarily have to read the ones that were pulled. There's all different ones. You can pick and choose, which ones may serve your better purpose. All right, so now we'll pull from the Affirmators deck. Last time we got Manifestation, Story of My Life, and Worthiness. Remembering that we're worthy. A lot of times when we're going through trials and tribulations, we have a tendency to question our own worth. It's human nature to do that, but don't get stuck in that way of thinking. Pray about it. Do whatever it takes to get yourself out of your head. Get out in nature, spend some time with your family and friends. Whatever you have to do to get yourself out of that mindset. Be aware and be careful of the expectations you have on yourself. Going back to our affirmation of the self-sufficiency, the ultimate self-sufficiency doesn't mean hiding in a cave and saying, I don't need people, I don't need help. A lot of times when we have that, when we look at things in that frame of mind, it can actually slow us down. All right, an affirmation from the Affirmators deck, self-help without all the self-helpiness. I think I say it every time I pull from this deck. This deck has a lot of cute, childlike humor in it. Also with the artwork, the pictures that are in this deck, it really, just that in itself can make me smile. Okay. I hope everybody's having a good day so far today. And now that I'm thinking about it and I want to say her name, I can't think of the lady's name that actually contacted me about the rainwater. That's something that I've always tried to encourage people to do. All right, we're not going to read all these, but I'll at least acknowledge them. The one that actually flipped over is connection. But we got perseverance, ideal partnership, gentleness, and generosity. All right, but connection. I am connected to the multitudes, and I can access their support at any time. Even a stranger offers a sense of comfort when they smile at me or make a dumb comment about the weather. Everyone is waiting to connect. All I need to do is open myself up and pay attention. Note to self. Work on witty banter about weather-related stuff. So, I talk about it often. It's in a time where it's easier than ever to connect with people, so many people are lacking that connection. Kind of going back to what I already said about, reaching out to friends or family or, just taking time to connect with the people that you come in contact with through your day-to-day life. Just a few minutes of your time may not only better your day, but it could better their day. The picture on this card is of penguins. Penguins actually mate for life. I think I'm correct in saying that. But I say it here often, the best thing you can offer somebody is your time. Sometimes that's what you need from other people. Going back to what we talked about earlier, not being afraid to reach out and make those connections. Don't overthink things. Don't feel like you have to do it all by yourself. A lot of times that can force us into isolation, and it can also contribute to that mindset of we're not worthy. Knowing that we're all worthy, and remember that, there are points and times in our lives where we all need connection. Whether that's a connection with our angels, ancestors, spirit guides, the Most High, or that's a connection, a physical connection with somebody that's a part of our world. All right, now we'll pull from the Namaste deck, the Stress Less deck. Yesterday, well, actually, it was a couple days ago, we got it's not about the destination, it's about the experience. Remembering that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, embracing the journey, embracing the knowledge or that comes our way or the connections that come our way. A lot of times people come into our lives for a specific reason, either to teach us something or to learn something from us. So not pushing those connections away, embracing them, listening to your intuition, your inner knowing. All right, Namaste, Stress Less. Let's see what we can get today. When in doubt, give people the benefit. Touch your toes is what we got. In the most gentle way possible, touch your toes. Stretch, breathe, and hold that pose. Think not of the stretch or the effort. Think of the beauty of the pose. When you are ready, bring yourself back to a more relaxed position. Repeat this process while giving gratitude to your body and the miraculous miracle of movement. When we focus on beauty and giving thanks, the strain and effort of any task is more evenly spread and we don't feel it as much. Acknowledge the beauty in every task and give thanks to the opportunity to accomplish it. Your reward will be a graceful life full of joy. So, getting up and moving, not just touching your toes, but, a body in motion stays in motion, especially on those days when you don't feel like doing anything. Make yourself get up and move, even if it's just, simple little stretches like touching your toes. Even if you can't actually touch your toes, stretching, going as far as you can. The best time to do those kind of stretches is first thing in the morning when you wake up. After sleeping all night, our body gets stiff, and waking up and doing small, simple stretches like that can really invigorate you and, help you feel better throughout your day. Maybe even finding a connection, going back to the connection affirmation, maybe even finding like a workout buddy to do that with, whether that's getting out and going for a walk or, doing some yoga stretches or whatever. Sometimes when we do that with somebody else, we can motivate each other. You can motivate them and they can motivate you to getting up and moving around, not necessarily doing a workout, but obviously that would be just as beneficial. All right, now we'll pull from the angel numbers and celestial insights. Last time with our angel numbers, we got 33, 66, and 0, and 77. Awakening, harmony, don't worry, and new beginnings. Embracing those new beginnings. Kind of going back to the affirmations that we got this morning. The self-sufficiency and the money. The more self-sufficient we become, the less we worry about our finances. We accept that what we need will come to us, even though it may not come in the way we expect it or the way we think it should. Just having faith that things will work out the way they need to, not stressing about it, embracing the new beginnings, letting go of people, places, things, environments that no longer serve us, and embracing and showing gratitude for, the connections that we have in our life that, reciprocate our energy. That came right out the deck. 11, patience. Hi there. I was actually talking about you at the beginning of the live. I'm glad you made it. All right, and then we got 2222 on the top of the deck. Stick to it. We saw that not too long ago. And then 606, commitment, on the bottom of the deck. I think it's been recent that we've seen that one as well. And that one very much lines up with the connection affirmation that we got from the Affirmators deck. So the first one, patience. Number 11, calm, reflection, understanding, timing, awareness, and thoughtfulness. Very much lining up with our third eye chakra affirmation, the inner knowing. Changes are coming in your life, and you need to be aware of them. Don't rush to conclusions before you have all the information. Taking your time will prevent harm to others and ensure thoughtful decisions. In what areas of my life do I need to practice more patience and wait for the full picture to emerge? Today, focus on being mindful and taking things one step at a time, trusting that the right answers will come with time and clarity. So, also very much lining up with the self sufficiency and kind of lining up with what I talked about already. Looking at things from a different perspective a lot of times can help us pull on that patience. Not expecting things to happen right away, understanding that, it's divine timing that we're waiting on, that there's a process. And even though we may not see all the things that are happening in the background, having patience and understanding, that it takes time for changes to happen. And no matter what way you're thinking of that, whether that's literally in your physical environment or even, we talk about the healing journey a lot. Don't question where you're at. Have patience with yourself. Going back to our grief affirmation, I'm healing even if it doesn't feel like it. Remember to acknowledge those small little hurdles that you've overcome, or maybe those big mountains that you've been able to climb. A lot of times we get so focused on the destination that we forget to acknowledge those little accomplishments that we've made. Like if you find yourself in an environment that maybe a couple years ago, that environment may have triggered you. It may have, kind of maybe caused you to backslide a little bit. Maybe you've made it to a point to where that doesn't happen anymore. Remember to be proud of yourself for that. Remember to acknowledge that that's something that you've overcome. Then 22, stick to it. Don't give up just because things aren't playing out as fast as you would like them to, or as fast as you had hoped they would. Know that progress is being made and maybe your patience is being tested. Kind of going back to a little bit of what we talked about last week. Just because it's not playing out in the timeline that you imagined, don't let that discourage you. Don't give up just because you're not seeing results right away. All right, persistence, patience, progress, steadfast, goal, manifestation, and preparation. Choose a path and stick to it, making slow and steady progress. This card signifies the need for patience and consistent effort while working toward a significant goal or manifestation. Ensure that all aspects of your plan are organized and aligned, very much connecting with the patience already. What path am I currently following, and how can I stay committed and make steady progress toward my goal? Review your current plans and ensure everything is in order. Take one actionable step today towards your goal and commit to making consistent progress no matter how small. So, yeah, going with what I literally just said, those small goals that help us accomplish a bigger goal. Maybe kind of examining things, taking the time to evaluate the situation. Maybe there's little tweaks that need to be made, testing those theories. Don't be afraid to make some small changes that may offer some big benefits, no matter how those changes affect your life, whether it's in your physical material world, maybe with your mental health, maybe changing some habits that could help keep you on track. Also doing some self-reflection, the inner knowing. We talk about it a lot, taking time to really spend time with yourself, to analyze the situation, Is there a certain situation that's making you feel some sort of way? Maybe you need to take time to investigate to why it's making you feel that way. Also, going back to the connection affirmation, being aware of the connections that you make with other people. Are those connections having a positive or a negative effect on your goals? That's something very important to be aware of. A lot of times, we enjoy somebody's company. We have a lot in common with that person, but maybe on the flip side of that, that person may live a lifestyle that doesn't really match up with ours. And sometimes that can pull us off track. So just being aware of that. All right. And then 606, commitment. Honesty, truth, stability, responsibility, expression, and peace. Honesty and openness pave the way. We saw that with our morning mantra. I need to pull that one back out. I face the day knowing nothing bad can come from telling the truth. We don't normally take two mantras, but that's several times that speaking the truth has come up. Stability, responsibility, expression, and peace. Honesty and openness pave the way to a peaceful and fulfilling life. Speak your truth, express your emotions, and embrace what's ahead with an open heart. How can I be more open and honest in my relationships? What commitments in my life deserve more focus and integrity? Take time today to express your feelings openly with someone you trust. Be honest with yourself and others. Let go of any burdens of worry by sharing your truth. So, not being afraid to speak your truth, whether that's to yourself or someone else. We talk about it a lot. And I know it came up a lot last week. Not being afraid to speak your truth, or a lot of times just helping somebody else see their truth. That's not always easy, but if we do it out of love and out of care, and because we have an authentic connection with somebody, a lot of times if it comes from an authentic place, even though that truth may hurt, sometimes opening somebody's eyes to something like that can really change the way that they're looking at their situation or just a certain situation. Sometimes we need that from people in our lives, and sometimes we need to be that for the people around us. Helping each other take accountability. Not only that, but just sharing knowledge with each other in whatever way, whether it's helping somebody see the effect that their commitments are having. If we're giving too much time and energy to something that's really not paying off, sometimes, especially if it's something that we're working on, something that we've made a commitment to, something that we've put a lot of time and effort into, we don't really want to give up on it. Whether it's a relationship, a goal, a hobby, a career choice. Sometimes it takes somebody from the outside looking in to offer different perspective, either a way to turn that situation around or a way to direct that energy in a more productive, beneficial situation. We get invested. Yeah, most definitely. And that happens a lot in emotional relationships. We don't want to walk away from whatever connection that is, whether it's a, intimate relationship, a family, a friend, even coworkers. Like I said, we may like that person. We may have a lot in common, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is what we need. Sometimes they're there to teach us a lesson, teach us to be more aware of who we give our energy to. And then sometimes we're there to teach them something. You just never know. That's why it's important to be aware and acknowledge whatever needs to be acknowledged. Our truth, whatever that truth is. All right, now we'll pull from the Celestial Insights. But also looking at it from a different perspective, don't be afraid to make a commitment to something. especially if you're trying out something new, sure, maybe don't give it too much of your energy, but don't be afraid to test a new theory, to try a new path, to maybe find different things that you can invest your time and energy into. Like for me, it's the wild harvesting and the herbal medicine. That's something that up until this season, I've really just had book knowledge of. And now I'm taking the time to commit to actually putting that knowledge into action. So, it could be something as simple as that. But also remembering when we take the time to really analyze our own energy, if there's something that keeps calling to us, no matter what it is, with me, it's wild foraging and harvesting, but it's going to be different for different people. If it's something that just keeps coming up, don't ignore that. Whatever it is that's calling to you to, try out, or, maybe it's a connection with another person. Like, for whatever reason, a person keeps popping into your mind, or, you keep running into this same person while you're out and about. That may be a connection that needs a little bit more investment. Don't be afraid to do that. But at the same time, don't fully commit. Just kind of make those small steps in that direction. Yes, it's what. All right, so there you go. Maybe it's a connection. A lot of us, especially if we've been through a lot of bad experiences with connections with other people, we're afraid to say yes. We're afraid to let other people into our energy. We're afraid to share our energy with other people because we, in the past, maybe we've been burned or taken advantage of, or whatever the case may be. But use that as a learning experience. Use that, be aware of that in the back of your mind when you're meeting new people. If you're anything like me, you're the type of person that I used to just dive feet first and, just give somebody my all right away, whether it's a friend, a coworker, an intimate relationship, family, whatever it is. So, know that you don't have to give them 100% right away, but that doesn't mean that you can't acknowledge that connection and, have patience with yourself while you're experimenting with that. Look at that commitment on the bottom of the deck, double confirmation on the commitment, and then true love on the top of the deck. All right, so don't be afraid. We talked about that, several times. Don't be afraid to love other people. I still got to stop. Yeah, it's hard to do, especially when it's who we are naturally. Like that's 3311 when I looked at the timer. For a lot of us, especially empaths, when we carry that energy, we really have to kind of, I don't really want to use the word restrain, but that's what's coming to mind. We really have to keep ourselves in check, so we don't overgive, so we don't overshare, because a lot of times that is what ends up getting us hurt because we value that connection more than the other person. But that being said, even if it doesn't end up being a lifelong connection, there's always something that can be learned. All right, we got yes. The answer to your question is yes. Have you been hesitant about a decision? The universe is giving you a clear sign to move forward. Trust this path. So really lining up with everything that we've talked about already this morning, from the speaking the truth to giving people the benefit of the doubt, to putting your life, your finances in, allowing the divine to take over. Knowing that the ultimate self-sufficiency is relying on God, the Most High, your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, however you want to look at it. Letting go of that illusion of control. Yes, we play a role, but in reality, we can't control the people that we come in contact with. But knowing that just because we don't have control over that situation doesn't mean we can't embrace it for what it is. All right. And then commitment. We got commitment in the angel numbers 606. Plus, we got connection with the affirmation, connection and commitment. That's pretty close. All right, commitment is the key to long term success. Are you hesitating to make a decision? Commit fully to a path and you'll see the results of your dedication. So that kind of goes back to what we talked about with the angel number of commitment. You know, even if it's not a relationship, if it's a goal that you've set or a new path that you're going down. You know, I gave the example of my wild harvesting. You know, fully commit to it. Don't be scared about what other people think. Don't be scared of, you know, the judgment that might come. Embrace your inner knowing. Embrace the fact that whatever that decision is, you're being called in that direction for a reason. You know, I was really hesitant in the beginning with the wild harvesting because, you know, here I am on the side of the road sweating my face off with scissors in a bag, people driving by looking at you all kinds of weird, like, you know, you're some kind of crazy cat lady or something. But you know, if it's something that you truly want to try, if it's something that you, whatever that is, the wild harvesting is just my own personal example. Don't be afraid to step out and take a chance. Don't hesitate to make that decision. You never know what doors taking that one little baby step forward can open in whatever direction you're headed in. Embrace the challenge. You know, embrace the opportunity to step out of your comfort zone, whether that's in, you know, the goals that you're setting, the connections that you're making, you know, the theories that you're having. Embrace all of it. All right. And then true love. True love is a deep soul connection. Are you searching for it? Trust that it's out there, but remember to love yourself first. True love will follow naturally. So that very much makes me think of the love affirmation from the Wild Offering Oracle. You know, self-love is the best place to start. When we truly embrace ourselves and love ourselves for who we truly are, not that mask that we carried for so long in our lives, the right connections will come in at the right time. Yeah, that old saying, you know, if you're chasing it, you won't find it, but the moment you quit chasing it, the moment that it will start to come into your life naturally. When we embrace our own personal journey, when we learn to love on ourselves, when we learn to commit to our path, whatever that path is, the connections that we need, the connections that we truly want will find us. But that also requires patience. Going back to the angel number 1111, knowing that it's not our timing, it's divine timing, but embracing the journey, you know, knowing that it's, yes, the destination is important, but it's more about the journey because in reality, the ultimate destination for all of us is death. We're all going to die. So it's about embracing the journey, enjoying it, committing to really living life in the way that makes you happy. You know, living life in a way that you can truly commit to your own, commit and connect with your own energy. And I tell you what, when you're able to do that and really stick to it, the peace of mind that comes over you in that process is just amazing. You know, when we can really embrace our journey, be aware of divine timing and understanding that it's a process, but not being scared to truly and honestly, authentically express ourselves, it really can turn your life around. All right, now we'll pull from the Angel of Abundance deck. Last time we got successful funding, release jealousy, and clean energy and food. Consuming more natural products, you know, understanding that nature provides really everything that we need in one way, shape, or form. Going back to making the small changes. I say it often and have on my journey. If you try to do everything at once, especially when it comes to changing your diet, most of the time you're going to get overwhelmed, you're going to get frustrated, and you're going to give up. So just making those small little changes that over time will kind of have a cumulative effect. You know, exchanging potato chips for salted nuts of some kind. Something that I've really enjoyed lately is the pumpkin seeds that I got. I'm just eating them raw. I'm not even baking them or seasoning them or anything. But, you know, just little changes like that can make a big difference, not only with our gut health, but with our overall health. You'd be surprised at how many vitamins and minerals and stuff we miss out on because we're consuming artificial food, basically. You know, it's not all of it is like that, but you know, if you're consuming a lot of processed food, you're consuming a lot of chemicals that if you were to try a natural alternative, not only would you not be getting all those chemicals, but you'd be getting the vitamins and minerals and nutrition from it was 4111 when I looked at the timer, from the, you know, natural snacks. I love pumpkin seeds. It's something new for me, but I've really enjoyed having them so far. And something that I like about them is they're not hard for me to chew. You know, they're not really crunchy like a nut would be. And something that I've noticed is it really takes a lot of chewing power to eat pumpkin seeds. So it's not as easy to overconsume. Like with potato chips are really easy to eat. And if you're not careful, you can sit there and eat half a bag and not even realize it. You know, with the pumpkin seeds, they really require a lot of jaw power and a lot of chewing, you know, to fully to fully break them down. All right, Angels of Abundance. I shared it on my other channel, and but I will talk about it here. It's my solution to my nighttime sweet tooth. It never fails when it's late at night. I always want something sweet. I think I get that. Look at that. Successful funding came back out. You saw how much I shuffled that deck and it came right back out. I think I get that from my grandmother, though, the nighttime sweet tooth. We got unlimited ideas on the bottom of the deck and cooperation instead of competition on the top of the deck. It hasn't been that long since we've seen any of these. But I call it an oatmeal bowl. I really like the Jello pudding flavor of cheesecake. It really does taste like cheesecake, but of course doesn't have all the sugar and fat and calories like real cheesecake does. But I basically just mix oatmeal with the pudding, and then I've been using black walnuts, and then now I've got the chia seeds too, so I've been adding those to it, which gives it a good crunch. And then cinnamon and brown sugar, and actually last night I ended up putting a little bit of honey in it as well, which turned out to be really good. But I shared a link to my other channel on my community posts of this channel. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but I also changed the name of this channel to line up with my other channel. But that's where I share, or have been sharing, a lot of my wild harvesting and stuff like that. I'm really trying to start paying more attention to that channel. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, and I also did a video the other day about my Healthy Choices Amazon haul. I actually had the pumpkin seeds in there, different, you know, healthy alternatives that I'm picking to try to make those small little changes. All right, successful funding. Your idea is divinely guided and supported by the same infinite wisdom of God that gave you the idea. Do not allow money concerns to prevent you from turning it into reality. Crowdfunding, partnerships, and other investments are available to help you. So very much going back with our affirmations, the self-sufficiency and the money. You know, don't let money discourage you from trying something new. Yes, it is. It's something that I really started learning more about. I guess probably about 2 years ago, not long after. Well, when I started doing my coursework for the holistic healing, is when I really started learning about all the different, what a lot of people either call wildflowers, or most people call them weeds, and I've never really understood that. Like, just because it can't be used as perfume, it's considered a weed. But anything from dandelions to the wild lettuce to, just the other day when I harvested the wild lettuce, I harvested some fleabane and some black-eyed Susan flowers, and also harvested a bunch of Queen Anne's lace. But especially with the technology that we have today, you can literally, go into your Google Lens, and you could just be out for a daily walk and see a pretty flower on the side of the road. Stop and take a picture of it and put it in Google Lens, and that can lead you down a rabbit hole of, different medicinal purposes that those things can be used for. Oh, most definitely. Yeah, me too. Same. I'm not really sure where that stems from. I think for a lot of us, it stems from growing up with a lack of money. Like, I grew up with a single mother that was raising two kids and trying to put herself through school. So, but at the same time, for me, I think a lot of it has been learning how to find happiness and find joy and peace in all the simple things in life that don't require a lot of money. Learning that we don't have to have all that to truly embrace the journey. Because for a long time, I based a lot of my happiness, or I got a lot of my happiness from external sources. And so I think for me, that's a lot of what it is just learning how to embrace it without that. Plus, I've always been a thrifty person. So, that probably, I don't really seek money. And, that may be something that I need to learn how to do, is, seeking money for the right reasons. So, but it's all a journey. All right, unlimited ideas. Your mind is one with God's infinite mind. Therefore, you have complete access to unlimited ideas guaranteed to bring blessings. All you need to do is to take divinely guided action to allow these ideas to come to fruition. I'm going to kick my air on real quick. It's starting to get hot. I had the doors open earlier, but I just went ahead and closed them before I came on because it definitely feels like it's going to be a hot, humid day. All right. So that goes back to kind of what we already touched on about, taking those little steps to initiate those ideas that we have, going kind of connecting it with the connection card, just hypothetically, as an example, you have a business idea, but you don't have the funding to actually start that process. Making it a priority to maybe make connections with other people that may, going back to the successful funding, that may be willing to participate in that process and maybe help with funding. But if we don't talk about it, if we don't embrace it, if we don't commit to it, and, really just embrace the process, we may not open ourselves up to find people that are on that same path, or that would be willing to connect with us on that level. So kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, maybe not sharing the full idea, but opening up to people that may be able to help you pursue that idea. And then that very much lines up with the cooperation instead of competition, finding somebody that's willing to cooperate with whatever idea you're wanting to embrace. Also remembering, don't put your eggs in too many baskets. Don't try to initiate multiple projects at the same time. Commit to one thing at a time, and, try it out for a little while. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, either try to make a connection with somebody that you can maybe team up with, or maybe just scrap that idea altogether, try it a different way. And making connections with other people could also offer, different ideas. They can look at things from a different perspective and maybe help you tweak whatever idea it is that you're wanting to pursue. All right, what's yours is yours, and no one can take it from you. There's no need to compete, as there's an abundance for all. You have complete access to unlimited abundance for yourself and to share with others. With cooperative partnerships, you can accomplish anything. So that very much connects with what we've talked about already this morning. But going back to our affirmations in the beginning, listening to your inner voice, not oversharing, making sure you get to know somebody, their intentions, their energy before you try to bring them in on a project, speaking your truth, giving people the benefit of the doubt that they may have something to offer, but being aware of, when you do speak your truth, how do those people respond to it? We talk about it a lot, being aware of your own energy. How does that person affect your energy? Because if you think about it, if somebody has a negative effect on your energy, that's not somebody that you're going to want to partner with. That's not somebody that you're going to want to start an adventure with, whatever direction that's going. So just being patient with the process. Don't try to rush it. Get use your spidey senses and get a good feel of the connection before you commit too much to it. Like we talked about before, when we are authentic people and we've made it to the point in our journey where we're embracing it, it can be hard for us to kind of, pull back on the reins a little bit and not overshare. But learning from the mistakes that we've made in the past of doing that and applying it to the new connections and new ideas and new situations that are coming into our lives. Okay, I feel like I kind of went off on a tangent there, but nonetheless. All right, now we'll pull from the Chakra Wisdom Oracle. The other day we got perfection and isolation. Remembering that there's a difference between isolation and solitude. Kind of going back to the self-sufficiency. Being self-sufficient doesn't mean you don't need people. It means that you can embrace the journey, whether you're doing it alone or whether you're making connections with others. All right. Chakra Wisdom Oracle. Going over the angel numbers again. Number 11 for patience. 2222, stick to it. And 606, commitment. Daily mantra. When in doubt, give people the benefit of the doubt. I face the day knowing nothing bad can come from telling the truth. Kind of going back to with the connection affirmations. If you're in a connection with somebody or you're trying to team up with somebody, if speaking your truth causes some, disconnect in that connection, that's okay. Embrace your truth. Don't be afraid to share your truth, but don't hesitate because you're afraid that speaking your truth is going to cause you to lose a connection. If that's the case, then you're not really losing anything. You're just shortening the process. That's why it's so important for us to know our truth. Embracing that truth, embracing the inner knowing, going back to the third eye affirmation. I trust my inner knowing and I am at peace with myself. I create more moments of stillness and silence, and I listen for the truth. I am open to connecting with and listening to my gut and my heart. I totally just bent one. What is that? Which one did it bend? Soulmate. That doesn't happen very often, but it almost bent completely in half. I'm open to connecting with and listening to my gut and heart's feelings, and I don't override them with my mind's logic. I practice meditation, prayer, and contemplation, sorry. So contemplating, being aware of your own energy, being aware of your truth. Recovery is what came out. Facade on the bottom of the deck, followed by vanity. Wow. So, facade, when I see that card, I think of the wearing a mask. It's probably on my end. There's some stormy weather coming through. I don't have my hotspot hooked up, so it's definitely not that. But I've noticed it does that a lot, but I think a lot of it is my connection. Welcome back. And then we got passion on the top of the deck. So soulmate, recovery, and passion. Soulmate, that's the first time we've seen soulmate. And I think it's the first time we've seen passion also, but we'll find out once I start reading it. All right, so we're going to read the soulmate first because that card completely bent in half. Rose without thorns. That's some interesting imagery. Oh, wow. It's still doing it. And see you. Okay, wonderful. I think it's on my end. Outside, and we're supposed to get some pretty nasty weather here today. And I am in the mountains, so bad weather has a tendency to affect my signal from time to time. I actually shared it on my other channel. I don't know if I shared it on this channel, but when I was harvesting my wild lettuce, I found several snails. And in this picture, I don't think it's meant to look like snails, but I think it's very interesting how these little shapes look like a snail shell. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. And then there's one kind of coming out of the eye right here. See, there's the eye in the palm. Look, see how the third eye is open on this? And we got the third eye on our chakra affirmation. Looking at things from a different perspective. That's kind of how, when I think of the third eye, that's kind of how I look at it, is when you're looking at the world from with your inner eye, you can see things from a different perspective. But notice how the eyes are closed, but the third eye is open, and then there's a eye in the palm. That makes me think there's an emblem, there's a Hindu emblem that's a palm like that. I can't ever remember the name of it, but that is a popular image. Okay, rose without thorns. It is time to face my true feelings. The legend. It is time for him to leave her again, to use the script he always does at this point. He even knows her next line she will say. How can you do this to me? But unexpectedly, she says, I love you. The words of the script die on his tongue. He struggles to get them out. Just a few words and he will be free. But they won't come. Suddenly, he clasps her to him. He loves her. This is the true freedom he sought. Inspiration. To enjoy the beauty of must risk being pricked by thorns. This offers a new way to live. The best incentive to change is love. Personal inquiry. What truth am I embracing? This card indicates no longer living a lie. Key ideas: speaking your truth, choosing love, freedom through transformation, resistance to commitment, an unexpected outcome, and new truths. Key words: authenticity, treasure, and trust. So, very much lining up with what we've gotten out here already. Going all the way back to the mantra: I face the day knowing nothing bad can come from telling the truth. Embracing your truth, speaking your truth, taking the time to find out what your truth is. Very much lining up with the third eye chakra, the inner knowing. I trust my inner knowing and I am at peace with myself. And lining up with the commitment, the angel number 606. We also got double confirmation on the commitment with the celestial insights. And we already had the love energy out here with the true love. The ultimate act of love is self-love. When we love ourselves, it makes us more capable of loving those around us. Embracing our own authenticity, being able to see our different personality traits as treasures. Going back to the key ideas: speaking your truth, choosing love, freedom through transformation, resistance to commitment, an unexpected outcome, and new truths. So, the resistance to commitment, we got commitment out here twice. Sometimes the fear of the unknown is what causes us to resist commitment, whether that is commitment to another person, commitment to a lifestyle change, commitment to pursuing a different career. Don't let fear of the unknown cause you to stay stuck in a place or a situation or an energy that you don't really want to be in. Being honest with yourself about that. Kind of going back to what we talked about at the very beginning. When we've invested a lot of time and effort and energy and even love into a situation, a lot of times we choose to stay stuck there because we feel like, well, I've already put so much into it. I don't want to walk away and lose all that. But being honest with yourself and acknowledging that if you know that's something or someone or an environment that's no longer serving your highest good, the longer you stay involved in that, it's going to cause more harm than good. That may be a truth that some of us need to hear. It's not necessarily easy to hear. It hurts, especially if it's an intimate connection that we're having to walk away from, and especially if it's family or friends. It's not always easy to walk away from those relationships, but remember that usually the best thing to do is the hardest thing to do. Commit to loving yourself. Commit to choosing yourself over other people's expectations. Just because people have expectations of you, you shouldn't feel obligated to meet those expectations if that doesn't fall into where you want your life to go. If it's not an act of self-love, then that means you're making that decision based on what's best for other people. And that is a form of codependency. That is a form of self-sabotage, committing to doing what's best for you. Even if that means, hurting somebody else's feelings or having to walk away from a situation that, maybe you thought was going to turn into something else. But being honest with yourself and acknowledging that maybe it's not going to give you what you thought it was going to give you. All right, then we got passion. Princess of Amber, a quietly sizzle. I quietly sizzle and shine. The legend. The Princess of Amber spends her time volunteering. No person or task is beneath her. She loves her subjects and looks after them like a loyal servant. When the newspapers criticize her, her family begs her to behave more like royalty. She refuses. People hold a free election, and to the surprise of the anarchy, vote for the princess as their new leader. Inspiration. You are correct to feel, follow your instincts, for you know intuitively what is right for you. Personal inquiry. Are my daily actions supporting my real passion? What am I willing to stand for? Key ideas: following your passion, being authentic, taking a stand for yourself, being acknowledged, feeling ostracized by family or friends, being emotionally centered, strong feminine energy, and a happy outcome. Keywords: passion, bravery, and royalty. So, loving yourself like royalty, very much connecting with everything we've already talked about. You know, going back to the key ideas: following your passion, being authentic, taking a stand for yourself. You know, if you're feeling ostracized by family or friends, that's what I talked about earlier. A lot of times that is a huge, not a lot of times, all the time, that is a huge red flag. You know, when you are making decisions based off of what's best for you, what's going to, carry you further on your journey, and you feel punished because of that, those are people that you need to walk away from. Does that mean you no longer love those people? No. But it means that you have the inner knowing to commit to your own self love journey to love those people from a distance. You know, just because you can no longer allow them to have an active role in your life doesn't mean that you don't care about those people anymore. A lot of times it's hard for us to walk away from those people because we do care. But it's about making a personal commitment to care about yourself more. And that's easier or harder to do than it is to say. But going back to the daily mantra, I face the day knowing nothing bad can come from telling the truth. Nothing bad can come from speaking your truth. Sure, it may result in some things happening that we don't expect to happen because obviously, we think if we love and care about somebody, we think that those people love and care about us the same way, right? And they just want us to be happy. Like if I love and care about you, which honestly, that's pretty much everybody. I'm not a judgmental person. I believe everybody is worthy of love, and sometimes we need that from outside people to help us learn how to do that ourselves. But, I don't ever wish bad on anybody. I want you to do what's best for you. As long as it's not something that's hurting other people or that's going to hurt you in the long run, I want you to do you, boo. Whatever you're connected to, whatever brings you inner peace, whatever helps you connect with who you truly are, whatever allows you to be able to walk around day to day with a, brave face and confidence and self-love. And I think we all deserve that. And we all deserve people in our lives that are going to encourage that. No, we don't get to choose our family, but we do get to choose how we allow them to affect our lives. And then, of course, we do choose our friendships. Coworkers, that's kind of a teeter-totter, but sometimes it's hard for us to see that. Going back to the money and the successful funding that we pulled already, excuse me, I'm getting burpy, so I really take that as a confirmation. Sometimes we're afraid to walk away from a job or a career because it is our ultimate money source. But sometimes that is a test from the universe. Like, how much are you going to trust that the universe will provide what you need? Stepping out in faith, even though you may be scared to do it, pushing through that fear and really putting the ultimate trust of like your survival in the hands of the universe. You'd be surprised at the different messages, the different connections you get when you truly embrace that. Trust me, I know how hard that is. There's nothing easy about it. I literally walked away from my whole life, from everything. And, I've been homeless, I've been alone for years, but a lot of times being in those situations helps us learn our embrace our inner knowing, to learn what we need, the things that we really enjoy, the things it helps us to differentiate from what we truly need in our lives versus what we think we want. Sometimes we think we want something and then we get it and we're like, did I really ask for this? I've been saying it a lot here lately. Sometimes some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. We pray for things, we hope for things, we wish for things, and then either one way or another, we get it, and it ends up, it was 1:11:11 when I looked at the timer. It ends up not being what we expected, versus we pray for it and then we don't get it. We don't understand why we didn't get it until we get further on down the line, and maybe, we see something or, we hear something that we can look back and be like, yeah, maybe it's a good thing that I didn't get that. It's all about perspective. All right, and then we have recovery. Recovery is purple, so that very much connects with our chakra that we got for the day, the third eye, which is indicated by the color purple. All right, recovery. The lilac key. Pain from our past unlocks the door of understanding. The legend. Greta wakes to find painful childhood memories all around her room. In the distance appears a huge wooden door with white light streaming through the keyhole. As Greta tries to gather up her painful memories, they melt and form the great lilac key. She places the key in the lock, and a wave of fear engulfs her. The door opens, and the pain and fear recede. Clarity comes. Survival is no longer enough. Inspiration. Once the key has been used to open the door, you will have a new way of living, one without keys. Where are you heading? There are no locks. Personal inquiry. It is time to recover a part of me that has been dormant. Am I ready to live an inspired future? Key ideas. Facing fears. Wounding is strength. Courage to face pain. And awakening greatness. Key words. Genuineness, regeneration, and understanding. Wow. It's amazing how everything can just connect. I don't think I will ever stop being amazed by that. But we just talked about that. Pushing through the fear. Going back to the childhood wounds, a lot of us, that is what started us on our healing journey to begin with. Is trying to heal and overcome certain trials, tribulations, trauma that we experienced as children. It's making me think of the Wild Offering Oracle feelings. Feelings need to be felt. We need to acknowledge them. We need to really kind of embrace them. Going back to the speaking your truth. Acknowledging the things that we've been through, knowing that there is something to be learned from those trials and tribulations. A lot of times, really sitting back and analyzing those can help us to see where our purpose is meant to go. I've said it for years, there's always a purpose in the pain. And a lot of times, if we sit down and we can look at the different pains that we've experienced within our lives, a lot of them have like a common denominator. You know, they share certain details that can really point us to our soul's purpose. A lot of times, the things that we have to heal from are things that we are meant to help others heal from, whether that's emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever that is. Making a commitment to ourselves to regenerate, to be understanding, doubt, give people the benefit of the doubt, you know, embrace the fact that we all have stuff from our past that we're trying to overcome. Facing fears, wounding is strength, courage to face the pain, and awakening greatness. Once we really take that time to do the inner work, to, you know, when you get triggered by something, trying to really understand why it triggered you. It's also making me think of the Mary Magdalene card. I don't remember which one it is, where it talks about that. We're really taking the time to understand that the things that make us angry, there's a reason why it makes us angry. Every anger is an opportunity to learn, to really take the time to reflect on why people, places, things, situations, environment, not only anger, but just brings out emotions in general. There's usually a reason for that. Be patient with yourself when it comes to overcoming those things, loving on yourself, and, you know, not getting discouraged in yourself, because maybe, you know, we all have certain things that maybe are a little bit harder to overcome than others. But loving yourself through that process, you know, remembering that it's not a competition. You know, going back to what I said at the very beginning, just because things aren't happening on the timeline that we think they should, be patient, not only with yourself, but with your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, the Most High, your higher self, divine timing in general. You know, remember that as long as you're making positive changes, each day is an opportunity to try again. Each day is an opportunity to learn from the mistakes that we've made in the past, so that we can aim that knowledge and learn those lessons to help us commit to something that's more positive in our lives, no matter what area that is in. You know, whether that's making, you know, healthier food choices, whether that's making healthier decisions about what commitments or connections to embrace and to encourage, whether that's just making a commitment to yourself to get to know yourself a little bit better. You know, waking up today saying, I'm going to be honest with myself today about people, places, things, situations, you know, fill in the blank. The first step, just like we did get the recovery card, the first step to recovery, no matter what you're recovering from, whether it's a drug addiction, a codependency thing, whether it's lack of self-love and commitment to yourself, whatever it is that you're recovering from, the first step is acceptance. The first step to that recovery process is being honest with yourself about what needs to happen. Going back to our grief affirmation, I am healing even if it doesn't feel like it. You know, even though maybe it's something that you've been working on for a while, even though you may not feel like it, just wait, give it time, be patient, because the universe will present you with an opportunity to test that skill. Did you really recover? Did you really learn that lesson? Or did you just kind of maybe stay under the radar a little bit? Maybe you took a shortcut. Maybe you just kind of buried those feelings instead of expressing those feelings. You know, maybe though, you know, for a lot of us, those aren't things that we necessarily want to express to people around us. It can be very deep, very personal. This is something that I still try to motivate myself to do as far as journaling. If journaling really isn't your thing, something that seems to work a little bit better for me is like a video diary. I guess that's what a vlog is, but I'm not talking about a video diary that like you share with the world and post online, but something that you do just for yourself. Like when you're venting, when you feel like you need to get something off your chest, instead of allowing somebody else to connect with that side of you, you know, which can be uncomfortable, especially if that's somebody you don't know very well, just start videoing yourself as it, and you know, just lay the phone down. You don't necessarily have to be on the screen, and just let whatever that truth is out, get it out of your head, get it out of your heart, and then maybe later you can go back and listen to it. And it kind of, I don't know how it works, but it can help you kind of look at things from a different perspective when you're hearing it from an outside source. I don't know if that makes sense, but it can just help you maybe see things in a different way, that when we're trying to internally process it, you may not get the same benefits from it. But in reality, just getting it out of your head, you know, so that it doesn't keep turning like a hamster wheel. All right, now we'll pull from the Wandering Heart Oracle. Last time we got free expression and balance. You know, that very much lines up with what we've talked about so far here today. Don't be afraid to express yourself. You know, I think it's easier for older people to say that because we're already done with the BS in life. You know, we don't really care what other people think. But that being said, especially if we're making changes in our lives, it can cause us to be kind of unsure. But don't be afraid to express yourself, whether that's expressing your emotions, your opinions, you know, whatever it is. Sharing your ideas, going back to the Angel of Abundance, unlimited ideas. You know, sometimes that's the best way to get an idea put into action, is sharing it with somebody that we trust, that can maybe help us take that next step forward. So yes, be cautious of who you share your ideas with, but at the same time, try to find somebody that you can share your ideas with, either so they can help you put it into motion, maybe so that they can offer a different perspective, offer some, you know, maybe going back to the successful funding, maybe they can offer some, you know, funding solutions. But no matter what it is, practicing patience, life in general, which that can be difficult, especially if it's something that we're wanting to hurry up and happen. All right, we got sacrifice and familial, I can't ever say that word. Being familiar, familiarity. I don't know why I always get tongue-tied with that word. But number 4 and number 30. I don't really like that picture on, and then certainty on the bottom of the deck. I don't like that picture on the sacrifice card. And then follow your heart on the top of the deck. The sacrifice card is a deer with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 arrows in it. Overkill, to be sure. Number 4, number 29, number 30, and 37. Certainty, follow your heart. All right, number 4, sacrifice. May your sacrifices be acknowledged and appreciated. Servant and Godspeed. Very much the energy, same energy of the Passion card from the Chakra Wisdom Oracle. You are being called to introduce new themes of healing to your community. You are being pulled to teach others how to love themselves for once. Wow. This is not about you and you only. However, you will not be able to guide a soul if you yourself are still wandering. This is a time to become a recluse. Reserve your vitality for the most significant of things. Master stillness. Share what you've learned when the time is right. You feel the urge to shed several layers. Prepare yourself for a unique journey, a course you never anticipated. Pay attention to your dreams. There, you'll meet an overflowing number of messages that will advise you. The key is to be so abnormally aware that no sign gets past you. Whether conscious or subconscious, manage your stress. This is new for everyone. Grant yourself the blessing to shed and surpass the current place you are in. This way, you'll be ready to enlighten. So, I mean, you could really look at that from several different perspectives. But, you know, I say it all the time, knowledge is power. We're here to help each other. We're here to share the things that we've learned, to encourage others in whatever way that is, whether that's emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever it is. Sometimes we've had to sacrifice, I shouldn't say sometimes, most of the time, you know, we have to make a lot of sacrifices on our own personal journey, but knowing that those sacrifices haven't been made in vain. May your sacrifices be acknowledged and appreciated. Embracing the journey as a servant to humanity. You know, knowing that things that we go through, sacrifices that we make, not only benefit us on our healing journey, but it can also benefit others who are on the same journey. And also, you know, to even help prevent somebody from going through some of the things that we've been through. You know, going back to the connections, those connections happen for a reason. Even though that may not be a connection that's around forever, you know, those people either come into our lives so that we can teach them something, so that they can teach us something. Sometimes it's a double whammy and we, you know, both parties get benefit out of it. Don't be afraid to apply that knowledge. You know, I say it all the time. It's one thing to have the knowledge. It's another thing to actually apply that knowledge. So kind of going back to the example that I gave earlier about the wild harvesting, you know, I'm a very hands-on kind of learner. So even though that's something, the whole herbal medicine, holistic healing is something that I've really been learning a lot about over the last couple years. This is the first year where I'm actually taking those steps to apply that knowledge. And thankfully, because of technology, it helps me to not second guess myself. A lot of times when we're taking a new journey, when we're going on a new path, we tend to second guess ourselves, either by, you know, is this the right, are we going in the right direction? Am I applying this knowledge in the right way? And really trying hard not to do that. A lot of times when we get in that energy, we end up talking ourselves out of something that we really want to do. So loving yourself enough to make that commitment to stick to whatever, you know, for me, it's the wild harvesting, but fill in your goal in the blank. You know, maybe you're at the stage where you're just now recovering to where you really need to go into that, the recluse mode, you know, to really break down what you've been through and learn how to apply that to where you're going. We're all on different, even though we're all on a journey, we're all at different stages in the journey. which is why I always say it's important to be able to share what you've learned, because I might be a little bit further on my journey than you are, and maybe something that, I didn't used to be good at, but I've come far enough along to where it's something that I am really good at. I can help not only share the knowledge, but encourage others to apply that knowledge. Vice versa. When you get, a handful of people that are all kind of in that same groove that you're in, not only do you guys get to share all the knowledge you've learned in that, within that connection, but you get that kind of boost of confidence. When you surround yourself with the right people, going back to the soulmate that we got from the Chakra Wisdom Oracle. Soulmates aren't just intimate. Sometimes our soulmates are family members. Sometimes soulmates are coworkers. A soulmate is just somebody that comes into your life that's a connection that is going to be an important connection, and usually they're around for a while. But 9 times out of 10, they're on a similar journey. They're on a similar path that you're on. All right, and then we got certainty, number 29. So we got number 29 and 30 consecutive numbers. Pretty sure this is the first time we've gotten the certainty card. There's no denying the truth when you know. So there you go. That going back to that inner knowing. Listen to that voice. Enlightenment and salvation. It's true. It's hard to believe in the things you cannot see. However, it doesn't mean you should rebel against what comes forth from you. The more you make the decisions over your own life, the better your relationship with your intuition will be. Soon, your paranoia and indecision will fade away. You'll know. You know where you stand. Your senses are sharp. Thoughts are real things. And the power of the tongue is not a hoax. Wow. You consider the choices you make and how they will serve you. Karma has made her introduction very clear. You respect the terms and conditions. You flee from mental chaos, knowing you mean no harm regardless. You are sure of yourself and justify the quality of what you demand, almost as if you are entitled to it. There you go. Having the inner knowing. If you don't have it, taking the time to get it. The ultimate self-sufficiency is relying on God. It doesn't mean hiding in a cave and saying, I don't need people. Instead, it's saying, divine is my source and I'm willing to receive all the help, love, and support that want to come. Listening to your intuition. Going back to what I talked about at the beginning of the video. When you have something that keeps pulling at you, a person that keeps popping up in your mind, an opportunity that keeps presenting itself, maybe in a little bit of a different way. Those are signs from the universe. Listen. And going back to what it said, once you do that enough, you will no longer question those signs and synchronicities. The more you listen and trust your intuition, the more you act on those little, I don't remember who I picked it up from, but I picked it up years ago from a woman I used to watch online. That little niggle, that little voice inside your head that won't leave you alone, and that same thing just keeps popping up over and over again. There's a reason for that. Whether it's a song that gets stuck in your head, whether it's a person that, for whatever reason, every day you keep thinking about that person. And a lot of times when it is a person, it's probably a person that you don't know very well. You don't have a very strong connection with them. So when they pop in your head, you're like, why do I keep thinking about that person? There's a reason for that. It's important to listen to that voice. That may be a commitment that you need to make for yourself, to stop second guessing that your intuition. Stop second guessing the ideas that you're getting. Maybe the ideas are about, a job, a career that you want to pursue, or, just a path in general that you want to go down. No, it may not happen overnight. Yes, it may require some change. Yes, it may require you to speak some truth that some people may not be happy to hear. But not letting fear hold you back, stepping out in faith, making that commitment to yourself to do what's best for you, knowing that we are responsible for our own happiness. Happiness is not an automatic, how does that go? Happiness is a conscious choice, not an automatic response. We choose every day the actions that we take, the choices that we make, the commitments that we make, the connections that we make. That's up to us. Are they going to contribute to your happiness, or are they going to hinder your happiness? Don't sacrifice your happiness to make other people happy. Don't sacrifice your happiness. Don't by feeling like you are obligated to maybe share your unlimited ideas with the people around you. Sometimes, depending on who you're surrounding yourself with, it's best to keep it to yourself. I'm in my head, I'm seeing that release jealousy from the Angel of Abundance deck. We got that several times recently. Being aware that just because you have a connection with somebody, just because that person smiles in your face, doesn't mean that they want what's best for you. A lot of times it's the people that we love and cherish the most that I'm hearing that song Backstabbers, smiling in your face, but all along they're just wanting to take your place. Misery loves company. Be cautious of that. When somebody shows you their true colors, don't try to repaint them. Say you share some good news with somebody, whether that's somebody that you've known for a long time or it's a new connection. Pay attention not only to the words that come out of their mouth, but their body language. A lot of times they don't add up. When somebody is a secret hater, something will come out of their mouth, but their body language will not add up with that. And for me, that just shows how important it is about being aware of the connections that you make and the energy that you feel off of those people. For me, it was my mother. The person that I would have thought was proud of me and excited for good things that were happening in my life. Come to find out, my mother was my worst enemy. And it wasn't until I was much older that I finally realized that. It wasn't my fault that things weren't happening. It's because I had somebody that I loved, that I cherished, that, I didn't want to walk away from, sabotaging me every chance she got. And usually it's those people that we love the most that will do that, because they feel like, you're not going to walk away from them. Like, they feel like they've earned that right to do that, and nobody has that right. It's very important to walk away from those connections when you finally do realize that. I speak from so much experience when I say, I know it's not easy. It hurts right now just talking about it and thinking about it. But a lot of times, those are the connections that we really need to walk away from the most, because we care about them so much, Because we cherish that relationship so much, we allow them to get away with way more than what we should have. And sometimes it's because we've seen that truth so many times and we just didn't want to accept it. All right. Then we got 30, familiarity. Being familiar with something. Maintaining your roots. Simplicity and fluency. This card represents home. Favor gravitates toward you effortlessly. Your energy is balanced. No static is present. You feel both seen and understood. Your loved ones admire you and you them. There's an undeniable prosperity in the air. Whew, that really lines up with what I just said, you know. Now is a good time to manifest all your true passions. Are you living in the moment that feels supernatural, as if you've been here before? They say that's a good thing. Confirmation. You have all the support you need due to your inner peace. You are bound to attract impressive blessings. Visualize a fascinating life and watch it find its way. I'm getting vision board energy off of that, which is odd in a way that's a synchronicity for me. A vision board actually came up in conversation yesterday. You know, if you do have positive family relationships, embracing those relationships, being grateful for them. You know, not all of us have that in our lives. And, you know, seeing that is, you know, a positive thing. Embracing those relationships, maybe even, you know, seeking out those people to help you on whatever journey you're on right now. All right, and then follow your heart, number 37. I'm getting a very nauseous feeling right now. Like my mouth is watering a lot. Feeling kind of queasy. Don't let your nerves get the best of you. You know, a lot of times, anytime, you know, we're stepping out into unfamiliar territory, sometimes we can let our nerves get the best of us. I'm not exactly sure why I'm getting that feeling, but don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Push through that in whatever way you can. For me, whenever I get that feeling, which thankfully it's been a little while since I felt that way, but anytime I start to feel that way, I always break out into song. For me, my go-to is classic Southern hymns, because those are really the only songs that I heart. You know, I don't really memorize modern day music, but, you know, finding something that helps you deal with that energy. And actually, I'm going to grab me a bottle of water while I'm talking about it. I rebuke any negative energy being sent my way. I send it back with full force and full forgiveness. You know, that energy isn't necessarily always a bad thing. You know, sometimes it can be making us aware of something that maybe we didn't notice. So going back to what I've said so many times today, being aware of your energy, being aware of what makes your energy change. Like for me, that just happened all of a sudden. And kind of going back to what we touch on a lot here, just because we don't believe in something, just because we don't acknowledge something, doesn't necessarily mean it's not happening. Energy projection is a real thing. Let me get another drink and then we'll read this. All right, follow your heart. Number 37, wherever the wind blows, go there. Expansion and bravery. When I think back to a time when I can truly say I was fearless, I always remember what did we talk about pushing through the fear? I always remember the feelings right before. Either I was tired of living a lie or I was tired of worrying about what others might have to say. Eventually, you make the decision to live out your own truth and embark on your own authentic journey, or you choose to comfort others while they experience their own. Only you can decide which makes you feel the most complete. When I think back to the moments that I was daring, I remember the guilt rushing, fleeting from my body. The worries never disappeared, they just found their place. To each their own, I said. You are here for a reason. Now is the time to expand beyond the constructs of your own mind. Reach higher. Live how you want to. Set beautiful goals for yourself. Remember, you are protected by a divine source. There is no right or wrong way to be. The moment you choose movement, spirit moves with you. The consequences of your actions will always show up. Choose what you'd like to be rewarded for. Putting your best foot forward, doing what's best for you. You know, knowing that you might have to walk away from certain people that don't understand your path, but those people will be replaced by people that do understand it. They may even become a part of it. Follow your heart, listen to your intuition, push through the fear, step out in faith, very much connecting with divine energy, embracing and acknowledging your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, higher self, the Most High. A lot of times they're rooting for us more than we're rooting for ourselves. They want us to heal. They want us to get on our path of healing, of helping others heal. Now, of course, that's not always everybody's path. You know, we're all here for different reasons. But, you know, maybe you're here to spread knowledge. Maybe you're just here to love on people while they're going through whatever they're going through. It's going to be different for everybody. But follow your heart in whatever direction it's leading you. Listen to your intuition. All right, that was a mouthful. That was a lot. Sacrifice, certainty, familiarity, and follow your heart. We also got soulmate, passion, recovery, connection, self-sufficiency, money, true love, double commitment out here, patience, stick to it, successful funding, unlimited ideas, and cooperation instead of competition. You know, if you are entertaining people in your life that you feel like are competing with you, you know, that may be an indicator that maybe you don't need to be spending as much time with that person. You know, we want people that are going to encourage us, not compete with us. All right, now we'll get animal allies from the bird deck. Last time we got seagull, cockatoo, and scarlet ibis is how you pronounce that. Okay. Don't be afraid to make a commitment to yourself. You know, especially if you've been the type of person that throughout your life, you know, you've been giving too much of yourself to other people. You know, now is the time to flip the script and start giving that love and commitment and energy to yourself. A lot of us struggle with that. And it took me a long time to learn and accept that that is a form of codependency. I always, very early on in my journey, I always used to say, I'm not codependent, because I always associated codependency with like financial dependence, like being financially dependent on somebody. But that's not really, that can be a form of codependency, but there's all different kinds of codependency. And part of that journey, breaking free of those codependent cycles, is learning how to love ourselves, learning how to embrace that alone time, that solitude. I don't remember which card talked about that. I think it was the recovery card that really talked about that. But, sometimes the best thing we can do is pull ourselves Raven, Condor on the bottom of the deck, and Penguin on the top of the deck. We already saw the Penguin this morning with the connection card. And I made the comment about how penguins mate for life. Also, with the penguin energy, it is the male penguin that actually takes care of the egg. If you've never seen the movie March of the Penguins, it's narrated by Morgan Freeman. It's a little bit of an older movie, but that's a really good movie. We can learn a lot from penguins, just from wild animals in general. Us as human beings really could learn a lot from them. All right, Raven energy is the one that flipped over. I find that very interesting. Ravens, a lot of people think that ravens and crows are the same thing, but they are not. Ravens are actually much bigger than crows. Although ravens and crows are both known for their knowledge, they're really smart. They can be taught and trained, but it is a different kind of bird. All right, Raven superpowers. Magic operating on multiple planes at once, inner awakening, ancient wisdom, transformation, and intelligent. Raven wisdom. Not all mysteries are scary or unsettling. Sometimes the most powerful gifts come to us through visions and prophetic nudges. Only the recipient can decipher what's been dropped at their feet. When Raven appears, keep your inner eye open for signs, symbols, and messages. Expect the unexpected. That's the third time that we've seen the third eye energy out here so far. We got the inner knowing with the third eye chakra affirmation. We also got third eye energy from the soulmate card with the chakra wisdom oracles. Raven wants you to know it's a good time to consider any new revelations or different thoughts knocking around your mind as an open invitation to conspire with mystical opportunities. Don't focus on the how, but rather stay open to the now. Very much lining up with our Angel of Abundance cards. Successful funding, unlimited ideas, and cooperation instead of competition. Maybe writing when those ideas come, making sure you write them down, doing a video log of it, or whatever works best for you. Don't ignore those repetitive nudges that are going on in there. Keep your inner eye open for signs, symbols, and messages. Those synchronicities, those messages that you're getting from random people, messages that you might be getting from Mother Nature. If I had it, if I wasn't out of hotspot, I'd pull it up. But I've told you guys about it several times. Like when a wild animal comes into your life, whether it's an animal, an insect, whatever it is. Yesterday and today, for me, it was snails. Snails isn't something that I necessarily come in contact with on a daily basis. But on my other channel, I shared a link to that channel on the community tab of this channel. I shared a video of a snail that I found when I was harvesting my wild lettuce. And I just put him in my hand, and he came right out of his shell and just slimed his little way across my hand. And if you've never felt what that feels like to have a snail like suction to you. It's a really weird feeling. But I ended up going and looking up the spiritual meaning of snails because I actually found 5 more today when I was processing my wild lettuce. So, no matter what kind of critter it might be, whether it's, a bug, chipmunks, deer, whatever, that a certain kind of bird that keeps coming into your energy, look that up. There may be a message in that in itself. Not only that, but you're learning. Anything you can do to increase your encyclopedia of knowledge in that brain of yours is a good thing. And especially with technology right at our fingertips, it might take a minute, maybe 2 minutes to look it up. Take that time. There may be a hidden message in whatever that is. But, a lot of times people don't take that time. They just ignore it. And it can have a negative impact. All right, then we'll go with the condor first. I think this is the first time we've gotten the condor card. Condors are very similar to vultures. All right, condor superpowers. Truth seeking, secret keeping, deep connection to nature, justice, strength, strong inner vision, personal quests, and rebirth. Condor wisdom. Looking beneath the surface of things helps you face up to your current reality. When an aspect of a relationship or situation feels out of balance, it's time to be brave and make changes. What have we been talking about? Wonderful. All right, when Condor appears, set aside some time to create a nice space and spend time with yourself. Declutter, move things around, redirect the energy flow, and see what comes from it. If something is no longer pleasing you, pivot. If you've been neglecting a part of yourself and it's a pain point, pivot. Give yourself the chance to thrive. You deserve no less than your own best. Yeah. Take the time to spend time with yourself. Spend time in nature. Listen to your body. If certain things are happening, if certain changes are happening, listen. When an aspect of a relationship or situation feels out of balance, it's time to be brave and make changes. Be brave. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Be brave. Push yourself past that fear. All right, and then penguin. I think I passed it. There we go. Penguin. Penguin superpowers. Dreaming, astral projection, adaptability, family, using standard skills in unusual ways, community, innovation, and persistence. Very much lining up with the angel number 2222. Stick to it. Also, 11, patience, and 606, commitment. Penguin wisdom. There are always ways to find new uses for established skills. Repurposing the familiar to make something new is a good use of effort and time. When penguin appears, pay attention to your dreams. Practice trying to direct them before you fall asleep or when you are in a liminal, why can't I say that? Liminal state. The very same skills needed for directing your dreams can alter your waking life too. Penguin wants you to know it's possible this whole life thing is all a dream. Make it what you want it to be. Very much in a nutshell, everything that we've talked about today. Following your heart. Sometimes embracing the things that are familiar, but other times having to sacrifice the things that are familiar because they no longer serve our highest good. Pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. listening to your intuition, listening to, the people that you can trust that are in your life, making the commitment to yourself to do what's best for you, even though it may feel uncomfortable. Most of the time, the best thing to do is the hardest thing to do. So not only will a lesson be learned, but you will become stronger by making that decision, by committing to whatever that choice that needs to be made. It's not always easy, but once you come through it and you get on the other side, as long as it's a positive choice that you're making, not a destructive one, you'll be grateful that you made that choice. It may not feel like it at the time, but once you get on the other side of it and can look at it from a different perspective, you'll be glad that you made it. All right, now we'll pull from the Animal Spirit deck. The other day we got Dragonfly, Hummingbird, and Bat, which was all air energy, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Also, I don't remember which card talked about it, but going with the flow, listening to the way the wind blows. It was one of the Wandering Heart Oracle. When the wind blows, it's time to move. It makes me think about that movie Chocolate with Johnny Depp in it. That actually came up. A guy mentioned that in one of the videos that I did. I think it was last week or maybe the week before last. Paying attention to which way your energy is flowing. Is your energy being pulled in a certain direction? If it is, listen to that. It's come up several times today, really making it a point to be aware of not only your own energy, but the energy that comes in contact with your energy. Wow, we got 3 all at one time. Tiger, spider, and tarantula. All right. Interesting that we got a spider and tarantula. I'm not going to keep these because we just need one. So this is too many, but I'm acknowledging them at least. You've got earth energy and fire energy here. All right. We just want one though. Wow, cosmic egg, spirit energy, fox on the bottom of the deck, black egg on the top of the deck, double spirit energy. Fox, I believe that is earth energy, but we'll check just to be sure. So double spirit, double egg energy. It's making me think of the egg card from the Mary Magdalene deck. We'll start with fox, and then we'll go to the spirit energy. Let's see. Fox is earth energy. I can't remember if that's what I said or not. Smart, strong partner or mate, and wise teacher. The fox is an enchanting creature with plenty of mystique to go around. Fox personalities are skillful in business and also make great teachers. They are quick to learn and adapt well to new situations. Foxes are ideal life partners as they commit to relationship for the long term, and their natural charisma keeps things exciting. Fox energy helps us stay true to those most dear to us. When this card appears, reconnect to those you love. Foxes don't do well when they slip away. When in balance, magical, ingenious teacher, and magnanimous. When out of balance, sneaky, unsure of their identity. To bring into balance, partnership and connection. Very much connecting with everything we've already had out here today. That's triple confirmation on the commitment, double confirmation on the connection. I don't normally say this, but if you see a fox after watching this video, it means that this message was for you. I don't normally say that. That's not really my thing, but I'm feeling called to say that. I'm going to say, like, maybe within 48 hours, if you've watched this and you come in contact with a fox in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a picture of a fox, you actually see a fox outside in nature. All right, and then we got cosmic egg and black egg. I want to say that's the third eye chakra and the crown chakra. Black egg, speaking from an authentic voice, the truth. Wow, okay. The black egg contains one of life's essential treasures, the truth. Inside of it resides no confusion, no excuses, no small talk, noise, or lies. Not even white ones. What did I talk about at the very beginning of this video? The living and breathing vessel harbors only that which rings true. When this essence is in balance, we speak slowly and clearly. We are drawn to activities like writing, reading, teaching, singing, or perhaps public speaking. Sounds draw us in, books draw us in. The concept of truth itself draws us in. We start asking questions like, what do I know to be true about myself? And what is true about the world? When the energy of the black egg is not yet accessed, we speak from an unsure place. We say things others want to hear, gossip, or repeat stories to justify our superb behavior. We might even try to convince ourselves that we have no inner truth at all. The energy of the black egg hovers and waits for us to reconnect. It is available at every moment in every situation. It's the epicenter of truth, the birthplace of our voice. This actually connects with the fifth chakra. That's our throat chakra. The subtle essence of this card resides at the base of the throat. The ancient sages saw this center as the hub that governs our speech and expression. The balance of this center is important for all of us, but is especially essential for writers, editors, musicians, and teachers. I mean, I don't even think I have to say how much that resonates with everything that's already been talked about this morning. But going all the way back to the very beginning with our morning mantra of, I face the day knowing nothing bad can come from telling the truth. Speaking your truth, embracing your truth, being honest with yourself about the truth of another person, a situation, whatever truth that is. When somebody shows you their true colors, don't try to repaint them, and don't try to repaint yourself. Take the time to learn who you truly are, not what other people expect you to be. If you haven't already started doing that in your life, make a commitment to yourself to do that, to make time to learn what you are, who you are, what you want out of life. All right, and then cosmic egg. Cosmic egg, completion, harmony, the infinite within. The cosmic egg is the final card in the journey of the animal spirit deck, and it represents the unfolding of cosmic consciousness. This state emerges after we have tread the path for quite some time, and through self-effort and grace, we experience self-realization. A sense of contentment and oneness spontaneously arises within us, and the veils of our self-limiting beliefs are lifted. When the essence of the cosmic egg has not been activated, we may feel as if we will never get there, or that we travel alone, disconnected from others. Even if our encounter with this card is brief, appearing as a momentary or flash of interconnectedness, its potent energy stays with us. The cosmic egg is a remedy for the fragmentation of modern life. It's through the power of this card that we are reminded of the cosmic contract written at the beginning. We hold on to life, and life holds on to us. The journey is complete, but it does not end. This card is connected to the seventh chakra, which is the crown chakra. It's at the top of our head. One of the aims of yoga and meditation practice is to channel energy from the base of the spine upward to the crown. Each of the 6 lower chakras play an important role along this journey. And once the final epicenter of consciousness is activated, it is said to radiate the light of 1,000,000 suns. So embracing the journey, embracing what we've learned, and then projecting that knowledge out into the world, knowing that we're all here for a reason. Don't give up. Make the commitment to yourself to stick to it. Be patient with yourself. It's okay to have expectations, but be cautious that, and be aware of the expectations that you're setting. Don't expect too much too soon, no matter what part of the journey you're on. In reality, it's not really about timing, It will all manifest, and as long as we are playing an active role in our lives and in our journey and embracing the journey and being honest with ourselves about that journey, it's not really up to us to decide the timeline. That's kind of already set in stone to a point. Speaking of stones, we'll go ahead and get our crystal card for the day. Explore the universe of gems and minerals. Last time, our stone told us about love, compassion, and sincerity. Loving yourself, having compassion for yourselves, having compassion for the people that you come in contact with throughout your day. Going back to one of our daily mantras, when in doubt, give people the benefit of the doubt. Just because somebody's having a bad day and taking it out on you doesn't really mean that it has anything to do with you. Act out of love, act out of kindness, show them some sympathy. Have some compassion. All right. That was amethyst that wanted to flip over. It didn't actually flip out though, but amethyst is a beautiful stone. I actually keep raw amethyst here on my desk in my little stone basket. It's one of my favorites just because it's purple, and purple's my favorite color, but they use amethyst to make a lot of jewelry as well. Amazonite. This is a beautiful stone, very pretty turquoise color. Luck, abundance, and comfort. Normally, I would Google it and tell you what some of its benefits are, but I'm at a hot spot, so I can't do that today. Luck, abundance, and comfort. Finding comfort and all the little, confirmation. finding comfort in all the little aspects of life. You know, reminding yourself and remembering that abundance comes in all forms. It doesn't necessarily mean finances. To me, spiritual abundance, emotional abundance, you know, having peace of mind. A lot of people don't really understand how valuable that is until they finally get it. And then once you finally get it, you know, you're very cautious about who you allow in that could possibly affect that. You know, if you're going to take my peace, then you don't get to hold space. You don't get to take up space. Embracing and being grateful for the different forms of abundance that we have. You know, remembering to be grateful for all those little things that, you know, in the chaos of just living everyday life, it's those little things that we tend to take for granted. And when they're no longer there anymore, you know, we miss them. So appreciate those little forms of abundance, you know. Appreciate the fact that you have a working washing machine so you can do your laundry at home. You don't have to go to the laundromat. Or, you know, just appreciate the fact that you woke up this morning. Appreciate the connections that are in your life. Those are all forms of abundance that we have a tendency to overlook or to take for granted. All right, now we'll pull from the Archangel Fire Oracle. Last time we got number 27, Zuriel, which had a big astrological connection. Reviewing our angel numbers again. Number 11, patience. Number 22, stick to it. And number 606, commitment. Calm, reflection, understanding, timing, awareness, thoughtfulness, persistence, patience, progress, steadfast, goals, manifestation, preparation, honesty, truth, stability, responsibility, expression, and peace. Don't be afraid to share your peace with others. You know, maybe share different things that you had to do in order to accomplish that peace. You know, maybe acknowledging the things that you had to sacrifice in order to receive that peace, to receive that success, to receive that patience, to embrace that commitment. You know, it's going to be different for everybody, but we're not going to take this one because it just kind of landed on top of my hand, but we will acknowledge him. Number 40. I've looked up how to pronounce that before, and I can't do it right now, but it's like Melchizedek, or it's a really, but his general message is ascension. Beloved, this message comes with confirmation that you have now been initiated into the order of whatever his name is. I'll spell it for you in just a second. An etheric lineage of ancient souls who are returning to Earth to assist with ascension. I am with you always. And just in case you want to look him up, it's Melchizedek. Yeah, I've looked him up before. I just can't remember exactly how to pronounce it. I would do it if I could, but I've burnt out my hotspot. Raphael, number 17. It has not been very long since we've seen him. A lot of green. Green is connected to the heart chakra. Pink roses. I always think of love, like empathy love, when I see pink roses. He very much connects to the heart chakra. He has a harp. But I think it even references the heart chakra in his message. We'll see. He is an archangel of the yellow ray. Chakra is the solar plexus chakra. Let me make sure that's right. No, he's of the green ray. My bad. Okay, so Archangel of the green ray, the heart chakra, obviously, healing qualities, unconditional love, belonging, surrender, higher perception, emotional and physical healing, and transitions. Crystal associations, emerald, fluorite, green amethyst, adventurine, and moss agate. And this is more of like a blue green, but that very much lines up with the stone that we got today. Essential oils, mint and peppermint. The star constellation, the daughter, Andromeda. Interesting. All right. His message, healing. Raphael's name means God heals, and his main task is to aid us when we require physical healing or improvements to our general health and well being. He assists healers and those in the medical profession. If you see right here on this staff he's holding, that's the symbol that you see in like hospitals and stuff. And I know they don't have them anymore, but back in the day when they had candy stripers, they wore a pin of that emblem. Okay. He assists healers and those in the medical profession and is powerfully present during global health crises, such as pandemics, to ensure everyone gets the attention they need. When people are readying to pass over, Raphael offers them comfort and safety until Archangel Azrael arrives to help them transition. Whenever you see an ambulance, ask Raphael to assist the paramedics and offer healing to the patient. Like the romantic Italian man in his card, Raphael is the angel of the heart who governs the emerald ray, and you may even see green sparkles or feel tingling when he's around. He can also help heal sadness after loss. I once injured both of my knees in a bus crash. During my physical therapy sessions, I called on Raphael. I was amazed when he merged his energy with mine, and I could physically see a green halo of light around my injuries. I knew this was Raphael's light manifesting in my aura, and it was so reassuring to know he was my personal cosmic consultant. If you feel unwell or suffer an injury, ask Raphael to bathe you in emerald light to restore your health. His general message: I have heard your prayers for healing. Allow yourself time out to rest and integrate. Trust that I am helping you to heal and restoring your energy and equilibrium. Invoking Raphael's energy allows you to connect to the healer magician within. Every human being has natural healing capabilities, and this begins with compassion. We saw compassion with this stone card that we put away. Simply listening to another can allow them to feel safe and even speed up their healing process. However, the very same goes for ourselves. How often do we overlook our own needs and the needs of our body? You can become your own healer by ensuring that you are being kind to yourself and taking time for rest and relaxation. True healers understand the first person they need to heal is themselves. Take time out to rest and revitalize. Very true. If we don't pour into our own cup, we will not be able to pour into somebody else's cup. You know, loving on yourself, nurturing yourself, being patient with yourself if you are in a time of healing. You know, I've kind of been in the phase of healing for a minute now with my ankle. Right now while we're reading his card, I really would like for him to come and help my ankle heal. It's something that I've been struggling with for a while. So, kind of going back to the self sufficiency and what we talked about at the very beginning, being able to be honest with ourselves, knowing when we need a little bit of extra love and attention. A lot of times we get so used to just doing everything for ourselves that we forget that we have a whole supernatural, family up there supporting us and offering help. We just have to remember to ask for it. Not only are, angels, ancestors, spirit guides, archangels, the Most High, but also, not being afraid to open up and ask for help from the people around you. If you're a healer, a lover, an empath, we are always that person being there to help others. But, don't forget that sometimes, you need to offer that help for yourself. Don't, don't neglect yourself by being afraid to ask for help. All right, now we're going to pull from the Herbal Astrology Oracle, and then we'll pull from the Mary Magdalene Oracle, and we'll be done. This video has gone pretty long today, 2:26:10 on the timer when I looked. All right, Herbal Astrology Pocket Oracle. Sorry, I forgot to say what our card was last time. I don't really remember. I didn't even pay attention. That was my bad. And if you're interested in herbal medicine, holistic healing, anything in that genre, I would really want to encourage you to look up and research the different cards that we get from this deck, because what is in the book, for most of them, it's just the beginning. A lot of these that we pull on have many medicinal purposes, not just spiritually but physically. All right, we got 10, Mugwort, Psychic Healing. There's an owl in this picture. I always associate owls with wisdom. Oh, wow. It may tell us what this is supposed to be in the description of the card, but if you see this right here, it almost to me, it looks like a little hand mirror. But it's like being held up by the branches of the tree. But I don't know how well you can see it. It has like a whirl circle in there. I'm getting like portal energy off of that. Mystical, magical. It's also showing the phases of the moon right here. Understanding that we are spiritual beings here having a human experience. I'm going to turn the air on, this fan off and my air off. My arms are starting to get cold. Understanding that we're all spiritual beings here having a human experience. Whether we acknowledge it or not, we always have that connection to spirit, to source. Also, being aware and acknowledging that, our bodies are like 70. We are affected by the different phases of the moon. The ocean is affected by the phases of the moon. So are our bodies. Going back to the owl wisdom, the owl energy, and going back to our chakra affirmation from the very beginning, inner knowing, getting to know your body, getting to know what affects your body, the things that affect it in a positive way and the things that affect it in a negative way. All right, number 10, Mugwort, Psychic Healing. Okay. Dream work, the liminal state. Wow, what card did that come out in where it was talking about? That's come up already. What card was that? It's one of the animal, I think it was the penguin card. Okay, my bad. Dream work, the liminal space, in transition, other realities, clairvoyance, and foresight. Astrological ruler, moon, and Neptune. I wish I could look this word, but I don't have hotspot. So it says all plants that are in this same family are sacred to the moon goddess, and mugwort is closely linked to the fairy realm. Historically, it has been used to protect against evil spirits, parasitic entities, dark energy, and hexes, among a variety of cultures. Mugwort and its extended family are moon allies that symbolize the mystical workings of our intuition, dreams, and unconscious mind. The silvery light of the moon illuminates the path to higher consciousness, winding through the underground forest. The moon represents our emotional body, the shadow self, the underworld, psychic abilities, and the occult. Its dark side can bring on illusions, fear, and feelings of separation and disconnection. Mugwort grants us the strength to work with our shadow and protect us from the parasitic entities that we might encounter as we dive deep into our psyche. Mugwort is a resilient plant that grows in conditions where other herbs may be unhappy. This bitter herb was traditionally used as a tonic for intestinal conditions, including as a parasitic cleanser, an aid to weak digestion, and more. The moon is said to directly govern the stomach, the gut in its entirety, and the regulation of fluid in the body. So it is no coincidence that the moon goddess herb greatly eases chronic stomach and intestinal complaints. Guidance. The moon goddess and her wise white owl meet you as you enter the liminal space between one life phase and the next. Your channel is wide open. She is instructing you on how to draw upon your psychic powers to pass through this test within the realms of shadow. You are not lost. Oftentimes, the greatest clarity dawns after the darkest hours. Owl medicine asks you to use the powers of keen psychic sight to observe and intuit aspects of your life that may still lie in darkness. Confront that which is unworthy of your devotion. Eradicate destructive forces. Pay attention to the signs and omens that appear as you navigate the labyrinth of the subterranean forest. Wow. That is amazing of how much, in a nutshell, that is everything that we've talked about out here today. Very much lining up with the third eye energy that's been out here all day. We've got it really heavy in the soulmate card. We got the third eye chakra, the inner knowing. Very much also connecting with the fact that it's really quiet in here now that the air's not running. Embracing the good and the bad parts of the journey, knowing that whether we see it, no matter what perspective we see it from, it's all going to be beneficial in some way, shape, or form. Mugwort, psychic healing. Mugwort, I actually have mugwort seeds, but I haven't actually started growing them yet. I'm going to take that as my sign that I need to get out and get a couple seeds started. But I want to encourage anybody that's made it this far into the video to look that up. The different, not necessarily the spiritual benefits of the mugwort, but the physical medicinal benefits of mugwort. It talked about the intestinal, digestive benefits from it, but I guarantee you it has more medicinal benefits than just that. But because I'm out of hotspot, I cannot pull that up and tell you what they are. So I want to encourage you to do that for yourself. All right, now we'll pull from the Mary Magdalene Oracle and then we'll be done for the day. Last time we got resurrection. Resurrect in this life, the ego dies and the soul rises. So follow your heart, listen to your intuition, listen to that inner voice. Work on strengthening your intuition. The more you take the time to work on that inner knowing and you make the commitment to yourself to really do that shadow work, that deep dive into, people, places, things, environments, situations, feelings, issues in general. Once we really commit to that journey, it may be uncomfortable, it may be stressful, we may have to make sacrifices, but do it with certainty, knowing that making those sacrifices you're making them to be better to yourself. You're making that commitment to stick to your journey. Welcoming different connections into your life that may encourage you down that path, that may assist you down that path, that may help offer a different perspective of how to walk that path. Also, remember to be aware of who you share your energy with, who you share your ideas with. Don't forget that, a lot of us have had to go through a lot of recovery in our lives because of the people that we've allowed in our energetic bubble. All right, Mary Magdalene Oracle. Mary, full of grace, what advice can you give us today? Remember to watch, be aware, listen for different messages, signs, synchronicities from your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, the Most High. The fourth power, I am beloved. Look at how happy she is in that card. Soaking up the sunshine, dancing, embracing her own energy, embracing the happiness. All right, the fourth power. This may be one of the first times we've gotten this card because I don't have it numbered, but the power cards are right at the beginning, so I've never really had to number them. But this is card number 8, or should I say it's on page 8. All right. I am beloved. The mystic William Blake believed that roads of excess lead to places of wisdom. Why? Because when we allow ourselves to get thrown out of balance with an excessive amount of anything, too much work, food, sex, or alcohol, we also have the opportunity to encounter that aspect within us that calls us to come back from the extremes, so that we can rest again in the stability of what lets us thrive. The fourth power in the Gospel of Mary is described as the craving for death. And after Christianity was institutionalized in the 4th century, the fourth power was referred to as gluttony. That's one of the 7 deadly sins. If you don't know a lot about the 7 deadly sins, that was very early on in my journey, but there's a movie, it's called Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. If you've never seen that movie, it's an older movie. It's all about the 7 deadly sins, but it does have some gory aspects to it. So if that's not really your thing, just educate yourself on the seven deadly sins because that's what these are referring to. The powers, there's seven powers that Mary Magdalene refers to, and they're basically just different names for the seven deadly sins. Okay. The excess is seen as a death wish. However, it's often deeply unconscious. It's a compulsion, something we feel compelled to do, and that we do not know how to stop or change. Within Mary's gospel, the power of excess is not a sin, it's not a demon, it's simply a power. It's a power of the ego, like the other six powers that can derail us from what the soul has come here to do. Often we treat ourselves in ways we often never dream of treating someone else. Often our fear of not having a purpose, of not making some sort of contribution with our brief lives, leads us to sabotage any chance of doing so. When we remember that we are as beloved as the friend we want every good thing to come to, we are as beloved as the partner we adore, we are as beloved as the child that brings us joy just by breathing, we are as beloved as those we love so fiercely around us, it becomes less and less possible to be excessive with this body because we remember that the body is the soul's chance to be here. When we remember that we are beloved, we want to spend what little time we have here simply sharing the love we are. We no longer dance around the fires of love at our core, we become it. We can tolerate that much light, that much love, because we know it's not separate from us. The soul voice meditation, what does it feel like to repeat inside the heart, I am beloved? We talked about it at the very beginning of this video. You are worthy. You are appreciated. You do have a purpose. And a lot of times if we're just starting out on this journey, it may not feel like it. But knowing that the more we embrace it, the more that we realize that it's up to us the choices that we make that determine which path we go down. There's a lot of different you got 4 different directions, north, south, east, and west. But it's up to us which way we go. Are you going to make positive choices or are you going to make negative choices? Going back to what, the powers, the 7 powers of the ego. You can get too much of a good thing, but also remembering that we're the only ones that can change that. No matter what it is that we're getting excess of or we're not getting enough of. It's up to us to decide. We can't expect anybody to do that for us because in the end, the only person that's going to be held responsible for those decisions is us. Are you going to commit to taking on the responsibility and, owning up to the role that we play in our successes, our failures, our decision-making abilities, When it's all said and done, I face the day knowing nothing bad can come from telling the truth, being honest with yourself about how you ended up where you are, how you're going to recover from that, and what choices you're going to make in the future to embrace the positive side of the journey instead of focusing on the negative side of the journey. All right. I feel like this has been a really long mouthful today, but I hope that I've said something that encourages you, helps you, inspires you, even possibly redirects you. I hope that you found something here today that you could use in whatever way that is. As always, be grateful for what you have, the big, the small, and the blessings yet to come, because as we all know, it could be gone in the blink of an eye. If you see a need out there, tomorrow, next week. If there's any possible way that you can fill that need, please do so. You may not only better their day, but you could possibly change their life, and you never know the impact that it could have on yours. It was 2:44:44 when I looked at the timer. That is makes me look at the 2222 angel number. Stick to it. You know, push through those bad days. Push through whatever it is that you're going up against. Trust in yourself. Be persistent. Be patient. Be steadfast. Prepare for progress, because as long as you keep making those positive choices, progress will happen. Also, if you've made it to the end of this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. A subscribe would be even better. My Cash App information is on my main page, and it may be in the description box of this video. Belladonna0428. Of course, donations are not expected, but they're always appreciated. And as always, be blessed, find peace, and I'll see you next time.